Hey guys, so it's Sunday and it's car show day. And I got a pile of things I gotta do. It's just crazy. Like the garage is a mess. I gotta get ready for next weekend. Next weekend there I'm going to a motorcycle rally. I gotta start prepping for that. I got a million orders I gotta go I got on the go there. It's a busy time of year. Anyways, we're gonna see if we can't clean up this mess here that I got kind of all over the place. Did a couple other reviews on some Milwaukee tools, and now hopefully I'm going to be able to pull in my truck. I got to change a 4x4 hub actuator on it, and see if I can't get that done. Then I got to wash the truck, see if I can't give that a quick spit shine and get that down to the car show, and we're going to see what we can get done. We got to get all this stuff out of the way. First off, you're going to want to jack up the vehicle. Now you're going to be disconnecting some of the suspension parts, so you don't want your jack stands or the vehicle lift points on your suspension because you're going to have to take some of them apart. So if you can put them down on the frame, that's probably your best spot to put them. You want your suspension to be free hanging. Now I'm going to start by lifting on my suspension, but I'm going to put jack stands underneath to keep the vehicle elevated, and that's going to either go on my frame or one of my cross members. Alright, so we lifted it up, and we have it supported by our jack stands here, just on our frame in the front. Now that gives a little bit of each tire to be off the ground. Suspension's hanging, nothing's pushing up on the suspension. Now we already diagnosed this, and to diagnose this you want the vehicle running in two-wheel drive. My initial reason on why I am changing this is because I'm getting a noise from this wheel, driver's front wheel. There's a piece inside that hits against your CV shaft or your axle shaft, and that engages it in four-wheel drive, and then when the vacuum's on, pulls it so it disengages, and when it disengages, it's supposed to be free from your axle shaft, CV shaft, whatever, to be in two-wheel drive. Now, what mine is doing, it's only disengaging halfway, so it's rubbing against the CV shaft just a little bit and causing a noise. So, on this one here, we have a plastic cover that covers our wheel nuts. We're going to peel that off. Find the proper socket that you need. Now that one, oh, I grabbed a 22, supposed to grab a 21. You haven't already got one of these. These are real nice to have. A little bit pricey initially. This impact here is 1,400 foot-pounds of breakaway torque. So we're going to take off this little dust cap here. Just going to take a screwdriver and a little hammer. A few taps. Try and get in behind it. Now this one seems like it's in there pretty good. Now we can also rotate this a bit. I don't think this has ever been taken apart. Oh, there we go, starting to come. Once you, excuse me, once you get a little bit, you can start working your way around. Get the cap to come out. There. Now the cap is off. And I believe that's a 13 mil. Yeah, so we're going to remove this little 13 mil nut. Now when you put everything back together, make sure you torque it. There's not a lot of load on that nut, so just be careful with it. Now that there moves in and out, that's for your hold your CV shaft in place. Now we're going to disconnect our vacuum lines, which is not there. Where are they? Vacuum line is right here. So I'll get the light over in here so you guys can see a little bit better. That's a vacuum line. We'll take that off. There. So the vacuum line is off. Now what else is in here that might be in the way? We're going to want to loosen this one up here. You want to probably disconnect these here. You want to disconnect these lines, because what we're going to have to do is take this off, and then all this is going to come forward. So in doing so, you don't want to put too much strain on all this stuff. And there's also four, I believe it's four. You can see right there. I'm going to hang this. So there's a little nut there, another one down here, and then there's another one down on the other side. You want to take out those, and that's going to release your 4x4 hub. Now, I live in Canada, and this doesn't look like it was ever taken apart, so I'm going to spray a little bit of WD-40 on here, just to try and loosen the seal, the corrosion, because we have a lot of salt, winter conditions, stuff like that, and it plays a toll on everything. Now, if you look right here, there looks to be like a crack. Now, that might be my issue on why my 4x4 is losing vacuum. It seems like the housing has separated due to corrosion and wear and tear. Now, those little bolts are an 8 mil, so they're not very tight to begin with. They come apart pretty easy. So we'll get these four nuts out, and so we're going to want to spray a little bit of a penetrant on there, just so things come out pretty good. So we're going to disconnect our upper ball joint. Okay, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to spin it on one or two threads, just so it kind of stays on. Right there. So I'm going to give this here a whack. So make sure you get some safety glasses, because you're going to hit this and you don't want a piece of metal coming off, flying in your head, in your eye. More or less, it's just going to take a crack or two, and that's going to pop down. I put the nut back on 2 threads just so I didn't have to hold it. It's going to catch itself. Take this off here. You got to be careful, because it's going to want to drop out on you. Okay, so we have the nut off of here. We get all the bolts out of here. So there's three bolts, and then this here is going to come off. Now, this here might have to give that a little tap to loosen it up. But what we're going to do is we're going to kind of break the rust up around here that's holding it all together. So this piece comes off with the CV shaft. That's what you want. You want this piece to come off with the CV shaft, so everything just removes and then you slide this piece off after. So we got a little pry bar, and we're going to give this a few whacks in here. We're going to see if we can't loosen this up. I think we're going to start right here. There. So we broke the seal there. Broke the seal there. So there. Now everything's nice and free. See how that kind of moves around? We're going to slide this onto the CV shaft. So then, oh, we're going to have an issue because I didn't disconnect my ABS cable and stuff yet. So we're going to go ahead and do all that right now. Now we don't have plastic clip remover tool, so we're going to use some side cutters. And we're not going to cut the plastic, we're just going to help assist on helping it pull out. And then there's another one up this way. We're going to do the same thing. And what we'll probably end up doing, this cable's here, so we'll disconnect it. We'll have to pull this little red tab out, like that, and then gives you access to push the button so everything comes apart. And then pull this right down and out of the way so we don't pull on anything. We'll take out this bolt here and take out this bolt for the brake line, and there's a little zip tie back here that's holding my vacuum line. Take that out, so that there. I'm going to disconnect this one. There, now that we have everything disconnected, we got more slack right here. We're gonna slide the CV shaft out with a hub actuator on it. Hold on, I gotta straighten the wheel. So you want to make sure your wheel is nice and straight, and you want this up here like that, then this will pop up and out. Then you can take your 4x4 hub actuator off. So when you're going to change your 4x4 hub actuator, before you take it out of the bag, because they don't like, if it's the wrong part, they don't like open bags just because they make a mess and whatnot. So try to make sure everything's like 100%. So we got our 3 holes that line up, all pretty good, and our 2 tabs are there, they're intact, same thing as there. So what we're going to do before we install that, we're going to clean off all this here, clean off the shaft, we're going to clean off the ring here, and the ring looks still to be in pretty good shape. We're going to apply some new some more grease there, probably just use some wheel bearing grease, and then slip everything back together. So I'll try and get you can use a little bit of brake clean on this, so wash the dirt and stuff away. There. That mainly nice and clean. Pull this out this way some so everybody can have a look. Now you're going to see blemishing here on the shaft, This is normal from factory. When you get a new shaft, they come like that. So it's not an issue with the shaft itself. It's just how they process them at the factory. There's some blemishing here. Normally that would play of some concern, but in this application there is no issue. So we're gonna clean up this a little bit more, just because I see some old gunk in there. And then I'll take some new wheel bearing grease and install it. Make sure we got everything off of all the splines. Try and clean them up as best as you can, because that'll stop things from sticking. And at the same time, down in here, we'll go and we won't spray clean in there, but we'll take a rag and clean out all the old junk, and we'll add a little bit of extra stuff in here. Alright, so I got a little bit of wheel bearing grease here. We're going to take that and kind of just go around this here a little bit, just so when things start meshing together, it'll mesh nice and good. There won't be any issue. We're going to put a little bit everywhere here. It's kind of hard to... I'm going to need a cameraman one of these days. Then we'll get some on the shaft where things are going to slide together. We're going to put some in here, in there a little bit. Just kind of give it a little bit extra to float inside there for later on use kind of deal. And then what I also did is that down in here, this surface here, oh, get the camera to focus, this surface here, I cleaned that up with a screwdriver. You could probably get in there with some sandpaper or something, but the idea is you do not want to get all your dirt and junk down in here. So if you can stuff some rags in here when you do it, I'd advise taking a rag, wrapping this so the dirt doesn't fall down into your wheel bearing casing or into the splines in here. Now we're going to take some more wheel bearing grease and we're going to put a little bit in here, just where the shaft comes through. You don't need a whole lot. Add a little bit on the outside, and we're going to take some more and we're going to kind of put a small layer around the wheel bearing here. Alright, so that's all re-lubed. This is all re-lubed and ready to go back together. We checked our part to make sure it was correct, so we're going to start putting things back together. You're going to want to try to get this vacuum hub actuator on here first, so it meshes with your CV shaft. Okay, so that's on there. And we're going to take it, we're going to put it down through here. Then we're going to slide this up. If you guys can still see there, and line that up some, and then we're going to want to sort of mesh CV shaft and the vacuum hub actuator together. So see how everything was turning together? It's kind of how we want it right there. Then we can push that forward a bit. We're going to take a few of our bolts, put them in, just to hold everything in place. Now there's not a lot of torque on these little bolts. They're only 8 mil, so don't just impact them in. We'll get our little nut on the outside to hold our CV shaft through. Get our little nut on here. Be useful if you have a pry bar. Then you can line your ball joint up right there, like that. Now you'll probably need a pry bar to put the nut back on. Now, you're going to push down. This one might go on fairly easy. Well, I don't know if you can see that, but right now the ball joint's turning. So we're going to take a bigger pry bar, jam it in there, apply pressure, because this is tapered. So you're going to apply pressure down, and then which will jam it into this knuckle, and you'll be able to turn this up. That's just good and tight. Okay, so we tighten these nuts up here. There's one there, another one down there, and another one on the other side. Now, as you can see, everything nicely together. We just used an 8 mil wrench, and we just tightened them up by hand. It calls for 10 foot-pounds, but yeah, I got those there all tightened up. And now we're on to the front. We're going to torque this one up. Now this one here, they say 30 foot-pounds. Oh, what's going on here? So we're going to take our pry bar. We're going to put it in here like this so our axle doesn't turn. We're going to torque it to 30 foot-pounds. There. Then we'll go and we'll hook up, back up our brake lines and stuff over here, and hook up our vacuum line to our hub actuator, and put our tire back on, and everything should work. The main purpose on why you want your CV shaft and your hub actuator to align together. You want this aligned on your CV shaft. Now when doing so, when you turn this, vehicle's off. So when the vehicle's off, it's going to be engaged in four-wheel drive. We're going to start her up. So when the vehicle's running, you want this to free spin and the axle not to spin. See how that is? So when the vehicle's off, the 4x4 is engaged. Now when the vehicle's running, the 4x4 is disengaged because it creates a vacuum when it's set to two-wheel drive. When you set it to four-wheel drive, it cuts the vacuum, then it applies the four-wheel drive actuator. Four-wheel drive actuator is spring-loaded. So now that we're in, the vehicle's off, okay, everything turns. But if it was running and there was vacuum and it was set in two-wheel drive, this CV shaft shouldn't turn. We're gonna throw our tire back on and we're gonna go for a road test and make sure everything's nice and good. Your wheel torque would be 150 on the F150, so don't forget to torque your tires. And if you want to keep up to date, and if you haven't already subscribed and you want to, please do, and we'll see you next time.